All right. Hello and welcome to Full Time Score during the week, just before Easter, with your boy Tabang Ramukhwasa. I'm not alone as usual. I'm with my main man, Sfiso Mkwanas, with a big smile on his face. It's been a good couple of days for this man. He's even having a cup of coffee while he's on the show. Sfiso, Kosi for life. How are you, my brother?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. I like the new haircut. I like the new hairstyle.
Yeah, man. Yeah. This is a
Yeah,
haircut of a man who needs to get married, man.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I'm on a Sfiso. As we spoke earlier, there's not a lot to say about football. We had the Nedbank semi-final. We had two games, of course. I think
Yeah,
one was sort of an obvious expected result with Orlando Pirates beating Marumo Gallants 1-0. Just a quick one on that. I think Pirates did the job.
yeah,
They did the job. I
yeah.
think you could see that the energy was not there. The usual flow and all of that was not there for that game because it seems like Pirates were a bit tired after the Champions League exploits, but they did the job. Scored the goal early in the first half in the 23rd minute. They scored that goal. Great goal through Kabelo Dlamini. Great work from Mahopa with the run. Tito coming in, the layoff, Kabelo Dlamini doing the goods. And then the rest of the game was a bit tough because physically they looked like they were starting to teka, but credit to them, they held on. 1-0. Jose Rivera has another final, one last final in South African domestic football. There's still another potential final in the CAF Champions League. So I think we're happy with that one.
Yeah, we are happy with that one. Well done to Orlando Pirates going to the finals, and they could get double. I'm not sure about triple, but yeah,
We can still do it.
yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, they can still do it, but yeah. Actually, it's going to be four trophies. Yeah, this season, if I'm not mistaken, if they win the league as well. But I'm not sure about the league, so it can be three trophies. But well done to Jose Ribeiro once again. It seems like players now are playing for the farewell because they're so happy when they're playing and
Mm,
they're so confident and
mm.
they are so focused and it shows with the man. They just want to say goodbye. Yeah, on a high note, you see. They want to say goodbye on a high note. And we are grateful for what they've achieved. It was a beautiful goal by Dlamini. There was nothing much to do. It was just collecting, I mean, winning that game and making sure that we go into the finals. Managing the game in the second half, very disciplined as always. Ireland have been very disciplined. They've been conceding silly goals. So if they concede a goal, you see that the opponent has really worked very well with that with the rating of that goal. But they don't concede silly goals, unlike the other team that they concede too much goals. Uh, they make sure that they close shop when it's necessary. But yeah, well done to them, and I hope to see one of the best finals um, in a long time. In a long time, it's going to be a wonderful final. I can't wait for it. 10th of May. I wish I would be there. No, this might be there. Maybe we could get a sponsor. Maybe someone could sponsor my trip for to go to Moses.
Eh, you
Because in
never
this
know,
one,
man.
actually, they must sponsor me. They must sponsor me to go in. Yeah, to go and see the final on the 10th of May. But I can't wait for that.
No,
So well done to Orlando Pirates. Well done to them.
yeah,
Yeah.
well done to them. And I hope you do get a sponsor, man, and go find yourself. By the way, you frozen on the screen here just to notify you. I see. So I'm not. I'm hearing you, but I'm not really seeing you. Just to notify you, my brother. Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay.
it's probably our usual issues when we try to
All
have these
right.
conversations.
I
But we
think it's
can
the network.
continue. We can continue as you're trying to sort
Yeah.
stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Swizo, let's get into the big game.
Okay.
Sunday 6 o'clock.
Okay.
At Loftus, we had a big game. Mamelodi Sundowns, Kaizer Chiefs. Very, very, very big
Yeah.
game. Very personal to a lot of people. Very intense. Also, you could sense in the field with some
Yeah.
of the incidences, small incidences that happen. Something you don't often see in South African football.
Yeah.
With the players, the pushing, the shoving, and some of the players in some instances. But Kaizer Chiefs came away with a win, a very, very good win for Kaizer Chiefs because of the recent. Oh, by the way, you are back. I can see you now. A big win for Kaizer Chiefs, considering the recent history between the
Yeah.
two clubs, with Sundowns dominating Chiefs and some big score lines of 4-1 this year in the Carling Cup. Last year in the league, there was a 5-1. There've been some big scores, but Kaizer Chiefs fought hard. They hung in there, and it's been a fantastic. It was a fantastic win, and since then, it's been Kaizer Chiefs fans everywhere, social media calling themselves the best club on earth and all that. I just want your view, man, as a Kaizer Chiefs supporter. I'll give you my view as a Sundown supporter on this. What is your view? How do you feel? How was the game for you?
Yeah. Yeah. The reason you don't take things personal when it comes to football. Football, and you talk about football and only football, not politics. And that's what I like about you. Because in this match, emotions involved in that game. We are just going to talk about football. And that's what I like discussing. Which
Mm.
we look at the tactics, we look at what happened inside the field, and we just leave other things that are not necessary for the game. I think the game against Mamisana was a very good game. Not a good first half, not a good first half. I think the first half, it was there and there, touchable. And Mamelodi Sundowns was all over in the first half. They are not cynical as used to. And I was expecting Mamelodi Sundowns to do that because of the very tough game that they had in the Champions League last week. And it was a very tough game. And so they needed
Oh,
to at least maybe manage the game before rushing in scoring goals, and maybe try to play normal football and not concede and goals and whatnot. So they had seen what the Mamelodi Sundowns was fatigued. You see, yeah. So it worked in their favor. It worked in their favor. You know what? These people are tired. We just to make sure to frustrate them, to make sure that we are on them all the time, all the time. Put them under pressure. They pressed high. Tutuba pressed high up until it worked for him in the second because Suarez was fatigued, so he made mistakes. I think Puma Lunga, Divine Lunga was the one that changed the game. Because if you can look at the goals that they scored, I don't players like Ukutiba, a lot of players that could have played. Maema, there were a lot of players that could have played there. In Marisano's game, in Marisano's team. So it didn't play them. I don't know why. But I hope to give them the opportunity to play so that they can be able to have a game time as well. But forward to push play for even results just to get game time, but they didn't. But on the Kaizer Chiefs side, I was happy the way Utrele is always impressive. and he continues to impress, continues to elevate the team, make his achievements. So it's showing us what is to fight for the team. Always in that way.
Okay, so let me just apologize firstly. You were glitching a lot, but I think we are sorted now. You can continue. I think you were mentioning something about Bradley Cross's performance before you
Yeah,
disappeared.
Chiefs side, as well as a few players that were playing there. I think Mark as well became the party. A lot of players that I thought they would want to pitch for Kaizer Chiefs, they pitched. Musima is getting his form back. It was very good. I think motivated only when they are playing against Orlando Pirates, these big teams. But when it comes to smaller teams, I don't know what's happening. I don't know whether the problem is maybe the planning or what, but they just can't get it right. But when they're playing against Sundowns, Kaizer Chiefs is when they're playing against Orlando Pirates, Kaizer Chiefs is straight. I don't know what is going on, but it's something that Coach Navi needs to look at. He needs to get that, Mr. Tava, because it's very, very serious and it will cost Navi's job because of the players. They need to change their attitude and how they approach the game. Because it's very important. Kaizer Chiefs needs the points for them to be in the top 8. But by the looks of things, in terms of the league, they won't be part of the top 8 because of their performance. They just hope they take this performance and put it in the league. I think if they can just leave the Nedbank and leave the MTN, we just focus on the on the Nedbank final. Just prepare for it. Play the last remaining games and focus on the Nedbank Cup, because that's one thing that Kaizer Chiefs, I think, they need to have so that they can boost the confidence of the fans and come back strongly next season. So I think we need a win in the league. We need to continue fighting for the top 8. But what is more important now is the Nedbank Cup, because it is good for the moral of the players. It's also good for the coach Navi, for him to survive. Naturally, he needs this trophy. He needs this trophy. So well done to Kaizer Chiefs. Well done to Mamelodi Sundowns for giving Kaizer Chiefs a wonderful game. When you're playing Mamelodi Sundowns, it has a lot of international players. So you have to focus. I was happy with the goal. He's always producing when it comes to free kicks. He's one of my favorite free kick takers. For me, he's a free kick specialist. Free kick specialist. He's just an amazing set piece taker. So yeah, well done to Kaizer Chiefs, and I hope all the best that we do our best against Orlando Pirates in the
finals. Yeah, I'll start with that note, man. Well done.
So that's it for me.
I'll start with that note. Congratulations and well done to Kaizer Chiefs for that performance, especially on Sunday night. That was a fantastic performance, I think, where, yes, the tactic was to park the bus, but then parking the bus is very difficult. It's physically demanding and more psychologically demanding, because you're going to spend a lot of time chasing the ball and without the ball. And it takes a lot more out of the players to be fully concentrated for about 90 minutes plus to maintain themselves physically and mentally. So we have to congratulate them for that. Yes, parking the bus is not everybody's favorite tactic, but for this Kaizer Chiefs side, at the stage of where they are as a squad, where this coach is at, it makes sense. And considering who they were playing, it made sense. And as the game went on, the frustration from Sundowns started to show. And another thing that I picked up was that Sundowns started to make mistakes because they started to get fatigued. Because remember, they were in Tunisia last week, Tuesday, and they had to chart as much as they chartered back quickly to come and prepare for this match. It's a long travel from South Africa to Tunisia and back. It's a long travel, and they had a physically demanding game that side. In fact, they were in Kaizer Chiefs' position last week Tuesday, where they was the one sitting back and working hard to try and defend a lead. And the roles were reversed on Sunday, and they had to be the ones chasing the game. And unfortunately, and I speak as a Sundowns fan, that we didn't have the legs, and we didn't have the legs. We didn't have the fatigue, the mental fortitude to push on and try and score and finish that game. I think for me, what was the most frustrating part as a Sundown supporter was the fact that that game was in our hands. We were leading 1-0. We were in full control of that football match because Chiefs were not hurting us in any way. They were not threatening us in any way. But then that one individual error by Mario Suarez allows Kaizer Chiefs back in the game. And then now Chiefs are in the position where they feel like they are now, they have you. You're in a corner. And then there's a defensive error, in my opinion, by Tiwani, where I think he should have just headed the ball a bit further. But he heads it close. Kaizer Chiefs win it back. They recycle, they put it across. Ashley Dupree from an offside position scores the goal. But that's not Kaizer Chiefs' fault. That's not Ashley Dupree's fault. That's not Mamelodi Sundowns' fault. It's the linesman's fault. We didn't see that Ashley Dupree was almost the whole meter offside. So we can't, I'm not going to sit here and debate it as much as on my social media. I'll say, hey, Chiefs, it is, but in reality, that's not anyone's fault. Because I've said it before to you, my friend, on this show that we have a refereeing problem in South Africa. And until that's addressed, this is just going to be the way the football is going to be played. Teams are going to win like this or lose like that until someone somewhere makes a decision to actually address the issue of referee. So I'm not going to talk about a referee here. All I'll say is this: Kaizer Chiefs beating Sundowns with the dubious offside is football heritage as a Sundown support. But ultimately, I think Sundowns should have never been in that position. And that's what annoys me as a Sundown supporter. That is what absolutely annoys me, is the fact that we should have never been in that position where it's 1-1 or 2-1. Kaizer Chiefs should have never been in that game, especially once we went 1-0 up. We should have controlled the football match. And the mistakes that came from the bench as well, where we took off Ikram Reyners, who I think is a much more effective footballer than Arthur, was it Artur Saleh? I don't rate Saleh. Yes, there's been some performances I've been happy with him, but I don't rate him. He was poor in this football match. He wasn't the only one who was poor. Mario Suarez was extremely poor as well, because if you look at Suarez, he has not done enough to justify coming from South America to come and take Musa Lubusa's place, because that's what he effectively did. He came from South America, he stepped off the plane, he took Musa Lubusa's place. And if I think about it, when Lubusa was playing, there were not a lot of mistakes. Like, they were not like that. Those type of mistakes he's made in recent games. He made mistakes in the Pirates game. They cost us 2 goals. He made another mistake against Esperance de Tunis. Luckily, that was offside. Still very controversial offside. And then now there was the pass to Duba, basically an assist to Duba. And if you're Kaizer Chiefs, that's manna from heaven, especially when you're parking the bus like that. So I think that's the disappointing element of the fact that we lost on individual errors, we lost on mental fatigue and on fatigue. And Kaizer Chiefs, to their credit, they were good enough to take advantage of it. There's nothing to be mad about from a Kaizer Chiefs perspective, because they were excellent. Thabo Xele's influence on the football team is fantastic. You can see Msimango's improved a lot. Even Mart had a good game, and he's the one who's always disrespected. And you talk about a boy like Uduba, young 20-year-old kid. One thing about that kid, man, he may not be the best all-round footballer Kaizer Chiefs have, but he's probably one of the most hardworking footballers in that squad, in that camp, because he's always putting in 150%, running hard, tackling hard, always in the box. Yes, the coach talked about his mentality. Perhaps he's looking at his attitude, but I would love to have a player like that, because you can really sense that this boy puts Kaizer Chiefs in his heart. He's serious about his career. He's serious about his football. And I think if Kaizer Chiefs had 4 or 5 other players like Abozwani, Mdusha Balala, maybe even Mart, and even Bruce Vuma, if they had the same attitude as Wandisile Duma has for that club and the amount of effort he puts into that football club, Bovuma would be playing for Bafana Bafana. Sam Kelozwan would be a Bafana Bafana player. Ndudisi Shabalala would be one of the best talents in the league if
Yeah.
they had the same mentality as Wandisile Duba does and have the same work ethic Uduba puts in week and week out. I think that's it for me from a Kaizer Chiefs perspective. I think as a Sunderland support, I was very sad. Um, my partner can attest to it. I was not very happy. Of course, I wasn't. We lost, but I was just more angry at the way we lost. I think what angers me, we were in full control of that football match, Sisu. In full control. 1-0 up, bossing possession, not under
Yes.
any
That's true.
pressure,
That's true.
not
Yeah.
under any threat. Somehow we lost that football match. Somehow Kaizer Chiefs found a way in that game, and somehow they won. And I'm with respect to Chiefs, they didn't necessarily score off their own skill. They scored off our mistakes. Yes, the finish by the Mr. Offside, Ashley Dupree was a great finish. But again, if Diwani hits that ball a bit further, there's no Kaizer Chiefs recycling that ball. There's no cross coming in. He's still offside, but there's no ball coming. First goal, same thing. If Mario Suarez decides to pass the ball to the goalkeeper or hoof it out or hoof it away, there's no 1-1. So you look at those type of things, man, and you start to wonder as a Sundown supporter. And I've seen this story before. A lot of Sundown supporters are not, they don't want to admit it. They're not realistic about this. But every time or every season at this time, April, May, we will be fantastic. But then for some reason, April and May, and sometimes into early June, because our season ends in early June, we start flopping a little bit, and I don't understand it. We'll be as I said, we could be fantastic in the Champions League, we could be fantastic in the cups, fantastic in the league, and then at this time of the season where everything seems to be kind of done in terms of you'd find normally, typically in a season, Sundowns have won the league at this point already. We're in the semi-final of the CAF Champions League, and we're either in the final or a final of Nedbank Cup. Things start to look weird. I don't know if it's the fatigue of working so hard, the intensity we played throughout the season. At this point, the players are just finished, or there's a mental aspect to it because we're in the CAF Champions League semi-final, and there's big expectation. This coach was brought in not to win the PSL, not to win Nedbank Cup per se, not to win the Carling Cup per se. He was brought in because he has pedigree in the CAF Champions League. With respect, something Pizzo Msimane didn't have at his time at Sundowns. He won one and he struggled throughout. We know Umangoba, he was an assistant coach, so as an individual coach, he never won it. Then also Hulano Mukwena, same story. As an individual coach, never won the CAF Champions League, still hasn't won it, and is probably not gonna win it anytime soon. So this one was brought in because of his experience at the CAF Champions League level and going far in the final as an individual coach. So that's where he needs to perform. And if he doesn't get it, Sundowns will probably have a new coach before the Club World Cup.
Yeah. But one thing I'm not happy about is the way the games are scheduled, especially for Mamelodi Sundowns. It's not fair. I think maybe I'm not sure if I'm right by saying this, but I think it's really too hard. Like it's really too much for them. I think you can't have such a schedule. It is not really. It's really not. I know Mamelodi Sundowns has a squad. I know they have a squad, enough squad, but it's really not fair because the traveling and whatnot. You see, so I think it's not fair. I think something has to happen because um, it's it really affects the coach and affects the players the way things are because they are fitness. With these people once, Mr. Cardoso once said, these players are not machines; they are human beings, so they need to be given time to rest. So I feel like it's unfair. I think it's really really unfair. I was just ending on the fact that you were talking about the fatigue. It's really unfair for all these others to I think they need to do something.
Mm. I think I agree, and a lot of Sundown
Yeah.
supporters online, on Twitter, and on Facebook and everywhere, they've been complaining about the volume of fixtures Sundowns have played in a short period of time. including the CAF Champions League in the PSL and the Nedbank Cup. I remember they played a Nedbank Cup game on a Friday, and then there was another game soon after that. It's been a bit, yeah, it's been a bit tough the last 3-4 months, and I think you're right, that could also have affected some of the performances of some of the individuals, and not just some individuals but also the whole club. There's been some games where Sundowns just didn't look like the typical Sundowns that we're used to. But I don't want to, as I said, I don't want to sit here and make excuses for these guys. They're professional footballers. Another thing is they have a coach who claims he has a lot of experience, so he should kind of have a clue on how to rotate the team. They should be able to have some form of team rotation. We've got a big squad, man. We've got a lot of talented football players who could walk into any team in the PSL. So I'm thinking there should be some form of rotation, especially in some of the games that we have to target, because yeah, we have to now target games. We can't play the same team every week. Pirates are doing it, and you can sort of see the performances are not up to par, but they found a way to win. And there's a certain level of maturity and a mentality in that. Sundowns don't seem to have that at the moment, shockingly. So I think he may need to rotate some players. But I think also what's important for me, man, the coach needs to be honest with himself a bit. I think there are some players that in that squad or in that team that really, really, really need to be looked at, not based on one performance, but I think based on the overall picture they've given us, like Sales, Mario Suarez. We need to have a look and be brutally honest. Coach also must not be shy to pull my favorite player, Shalulile. Sometimes he can pull him out and put someone in and try something different. Even Uribeiro, sometimes when he's having an off game, pull him out, play someone in. Don't just rely on Ribeiro to do something when the cards are down. Don't just think Shalulile will come up with something, and just just start getting the team right, because I think one of the main reasons why Sundowns lost that match was in the substitutions. Sales was ineffective. Neo Maema, could have been a way more effective footballer than Sales. You know, there was a boy. I'll go back. The way it's been a weird season for Sundowns, man. And I don't want to make this a Sundowns show tonight, but I'm just speaking my thoughts on it. But it's been a weird season because the coaches were changed. So try the coach was changed, and with another coach we had Aboli Busa playing. There was a boy called Koza. Malibonge Koza was playing, very, very talented young defender, better than Suarez in terms of playing the ball out the back, hardly makes a mistake, hardly misses a pass. Then we had there's another boy, Leclerc, who's I think part of the under 20 team that's going to the AFCON. He was also part of it. Looked good, lots of talent. You could see there was potential, building, and they've just disappeared. They've just disappeared off the screen, of the face of the earth. And I understand that this coach is not here to build a team. He's not here like in the previous regime knew they had time. They knew they had the cachet to say, no, we're going to be here for 4 years, 5 years. We can build these young players, develop them, improve them. We can be patient. I know this coach doesn't have that luxury because he was given a mission. This, oh, you're out. I understand that. But I think it's worked against the football club in some senses, because now this coach is forced to play players that are not performing, Bosuarez and Bosales, and he's forced not to make good changes. Especially in a game like that where you could sense that the team needed a freshening up, especially up front. But same old, man. And yeah, I think yeah, I have more complaints about Sundowns than anything tonight. So I think maybe we should wrap it up because the sun will set, and then I'll still be talking about Sundowns.
Yeah.
But
No, you said a mouthful, man. There's nothing much from my side, but all I could say is that we're looking forward to the finals, the derby, Soweto derby, one of the biggest derbies in Africa, and I just hope they don't disappoint. They give us a good game. That's what and I just hope they just give us a good game on that day.
yeah, man. On that note, yes, 100%. I hope it's a great game. Soweto Derby is always a good game. The Soweto Derby, the form book goes out the window. And we know Chiefs can spring a surprise. As you had mentioned, Chiefs need this cup. Nabi needs this cup for the morale of the players, the morale of the supporters. We've seen what this win has done for Kaizer Chiefs. the morale of Kaizer Chiefs supporters is very, very different the past few days because of this big win against Sundowns. So if they get a big win and win a cup against Orlando Pirates, the morale will even be higher. And Nabi can go and knock on the door and say, well, I brought something. Let's work going forward. And also, I think we forgot to mention Kaizer Chiefs have automatically qualified for the Confederations Cup next season. So
Yes.
it's another thing to add. It's another thing to add onto Nabi's CV. I don't want to say CV, but to add into his sort of armory when he knocks on the door for management and say, "I need quality players," because he can say, "I'm going to compete for the CAF Confederations. We're going to try and push Sundowns and Pirates for the league. We're going to try and win more trophies because we've already won a trophy. This is hypothetical, if they win a trophy on the 10th of May.
Yeah.
So it's good for the club. It's good for Nabi. It's been a tough season, but I think they have the opportunity to end it on a high and then rebuild again and then sit back and rebuild and reset the club again next season. So I think from a Kaizer Chiefs perspective, the win was more than just beating Sundowns and going into a semi-final. There's so much layers to this win for Kaizer Chiefs in a sense that it's an opportunity to build. The coach has got it right. And yeah, I hope the linesman from Sunday, they leave him behind because he was a disgrace.
Yeah, it was very bad.
No. That
It was very bad.
That one's Fiso was a disgrace. I know people think it's smart when supporters of one club complain about a ref and the other ones will say, "Hey, go report it to the nearest police station." I know people think that's a smart thing to say. And I think I've said this to you before that I don't like to celebrate when my team wins and the ref has made a bad decision and we win based off that because it can happen to you. And Sundowns have won based on bad decisions. And I've enjoyed those wins. So I'm not going to sit here and complain about another team winning based off bad decisions against Sundowns because we've been there. And the reality of it, and Peter Msimani once said it, a man who I think was ahead of his time, well, the PSL is a jungle. You will benefit, you will disbenefit. It just depends on where the luck is on the day. And Sundowns didn't have the luck on Sunday because it could have been the other way around. Could have been the other way around. Where Shalulile could have been in the press position and scored it. The linesman wouldn't have seen it. And it just happens. All I'll say on this, on officiating, is South African officiating in general, not just when Chiefs play Sundowns or when Sundowns are winning or whatever. It's a disgrace. And no one is doing anything.
A big one.
No one is doing anything. The Minister of Sport is talking a lot about VAR. It's coming. I don't know, man. But equally, even if he brings VAR, I don't think it's going to solve the problem. VAR itself is a problem. In England and in Spain, in the Champions League, VAR is a problem. So you're bringing a problem on top of a problem. Train the referees adequately. Pay the referees adequately. Make sure these guys are professionals at this job so that we don't sit here and discuss a semi-final that's decided by a player who's 1.5 meter offside, clear offside, and scores. Irrespective of which team he plays for or which team he scores against. It is a disgrace that is allowed to happen. And it happens every week in South African football. There is a big error by a ref or a lineman somewhere. And until we address that issue, we will keep having these issues because next week, or maybe on the 10th of May, it's Kaizer Chiefs at the end of a bad decision against Orlando Pirates. And then it's another drama. And then Pirates go play Champions League and they are on the end of a bad decision. Then it's more drama. It needs to be addressed. That's just my point. I don't want to talk about it too much. I've said enough. Yeah. So let's wrap it up, man. I wish you and your family a great Easter that side, my brother. God bless and thank you again, man.
You too, sir. You too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. God bless you too, sir. God bless you too. Enjoy your Easter.
No, definitely. But that's it. Thank you for joining us and happy Easter to you too for watching. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm sure we'll be back sometime next week, post the Easters after some football matches. So, good night, my brother.
It is.